The night I received my medal, the stage lights hadn't even dimmed when his voice tore through the Civic Hall. "Stop showing off!" The first punch came like a sledgehammer. Then phones lit up everywhere, guests raising their cameras. The words, "recording now," ringing out like alarm bells. I wasn't the silent daughter anymore. That night, his entire life changed course. My name is Lauren Keating, and at 28, I'd earned every stripe on my uniform through sweat and precision. The Rivermont Civic Hall gleamed under warm lights that night, its polished wood panels reflecting the Cobalt Ridge Logistics Command banner stretched across the stage. The Medal of Civil Readiness lay heavy in its velvet box, waiting to validate years of 18-hour shifts, coordinating wildfire relief supplies, solving impossible logistics equations when roads collapsed and helicopters couldn't fly. The auditorium smelled of floor wax and fresh programs. I sat in the front row, back straight, hands folded military bearing even in civilian clothes, my dress uniform pressed sharp enough to cut paper. Behind me, rows of folding chairs creaked as guests shifted, waiting for the ceremony to begin. I could hear Nia Morales, my closest friend since nursing school started working emergency rooms, testing her phone's video function. "For posterity," she'd whispered earlier, squeezing my shoulder. 3 rows back, my mother, Mary Ann, sat beside Dale Rutledge, her husband of 8 years. Even without looking, I felt his presence like a stone in my shoe, irritating, impossible to ignore. Earlier, while I'd adjusted my medal placement backstage, Mom had found me alone. Her fingers trembled as she straightened my collar. "Don't talk too much about the technical aspects of your work tonight," she'd murmured, eyes darting toward the door. "Dale gets uncomfortable when you go into detail about command structures." Uncomfortable. That was Mom's word for his jaw-clenching, fist-making rage whenever my achievements threatened his worldview. The memory surfaced unbidden me at 19. Acceptance letter to CRLC training in hand. Dale sneering across the dinner table. "Women don't understand real leadership. You'll be counting boxes while men make decisions." Then at 23, after my first commendation, "Anyone can shuffle papers during an emergency. Try working with your hands for once." Always diminishing, always cutting, always careful to strike when Mom wasn't looking. Evan Price, the Rivermont Gazette reporter, fiddled with his recorder near the media section. He'd interviewed me last week about the medal, how our unit had maintained 98% supply efficiency during the Copper Creek fires, despite losing 2 distribution centers. I'd explained the mathematical models, the predictive algorithms, the human element of keeping rescue teams supplied when every route turned to ash. He'd seemed genuinely interested, unlike Dale, who'd read the article and muttered something about participation trophies. The ceremony began at 7 sharp. Our commanding officer spoke about service, sacrifice, readiness. Other recipients walked across the stage, a paramedic who'd saved 3 hikers, a volunteer coordinator who'd revolutionized evacuation protocols. Each name drew appropriate applause. I counted my breaths, maintaining calm the way I did during crisis operations. In through the nose, hold, out through the mouth. Lauren Keating, the master of ceremonies, announced, "For exceptional leadership in logistics coordination during multiple emergency responses, demonstrating innovation that saved lives and resources." I rose, smooth and deliberate. The walk to the stage stretched forever and ended too soon. Under the lights, the medal's weight felt right in my hands, tangible proof that competence couldn't be dismissed as showing off. The photographer's flash popped. Applause swelled, genuine and warm from most of the audience. That's when I heard it, cutting through the celebration like shrapnel. "Stop showing off." Dale's voice, just loud enough for the front rows to hear. My smile never wavered. Years of his needling had taught me that, but something shifted in the room. Phone screens began glowing like fireflies. Not just Naya's or Evan's professional equipment, but strangers' phones, lifting, focusing, recording. A network of witnesses switching on. Creating a digital web I didn't yet understand would become my salvation. The woman beside Dale. I didn't know her. Some friend of Mom's from the furniture store held her phone steady. Camera trained not on the stage, but on Dale himself, catching his twisted expression in profile as he muttered more poison under his breath. The backstage corridor felt like a compression chamber after the open auditorium. Fluorescent tubes buzzed overhead, casting everything in harsh white light. The space reeked of industrial cleaner and sweat from the night's performers. I'd barely made it 10 feet from the stage door, metal case still in my hand, when Dale's bulk filled the narrow passage. "Plastic metal for plastic accomplishments," he spat, close enough that I could smell the beer on his breath. His mechanic's hands, permanently stained with grease under the nails, flexed at his sides. "You think you're special? Think putting on a uniform makes you better than real workers." "Dale, people are still—" I started, but he was already moving. The shove came fast and hard, 2 hands to my shoulders. My body slammed backward, cheek cracking against the metal doorframe. Pain exploded across my face, sharp and electric. The metal case flew from my grip, clattering across the linoleum. I tasted copper blood from where my teeth had cut the inside of my mouth. "Stop!" Nia's voice pierced the air. She'd followed me backstage, worried about Dale's muttering during the ceremony. Her phone was already up, recording everything. "I'm calling the police." But it wasn't just her. 3 other guests had wandered back, looking for the bathroom or hoping to congratulate recipients. Their phones rose like shields. An older man I didn't recognize held his steady, landscape mode. Professional. A teenage girl with her parents gasped, her camera catching the angle where Dale loomed over me. "She tripped," Dale said immediately, his voice shifting to concern so fast it gave me vertigo. "Lauren, honey, you okay? These heels you're wearing." "I'm wearing dress flats," I managed, pushing myself up from the floor. Blood dripped from my mouth onto my collar, a crimson constellation on the white fabric. My medal had fallen from its case. The ribbon twisted. Evan Price rounded the corner then, press credentials still hanging from his neck, recorder in hand. His thumb was on the record button had been since he'd heard the commotion. "What's happening here?" Mom appeared behind him, her face pale. She took in the scene, me bleeding, Dale's defensive stance, the circle of recording phones, and I saw her make the calculation she always made. "Lauren fell," she said quickly, moving to Dale's side. "These old floors, so uneven. We should get you cleaned up." She reached for my arm, but I pulled back. Her whisper came urgent and low. "Don't make this worse. Think about the family's reputation." The family's reputation. I kept my voice steady despite the pain throbbing through my jaw. "I'm bleeding." "Drama queen," Dale muttered, but quieter now, aware of the cameras. A woman in a green dress suddenly shouted from behind Evan, "I'm live streaming, this is live!" Her phone screen glowed with comments already flooding in. The red live indicator blinked like a warning light. Dale's face went white. He hadn't counted on this not just being recorded, but broadcast in real time to who knew how many viewers. The woman continued narrating to her phone. "This man just assaulted this young woman backstage at the Rivermont Civic Hall. She's bleeding. He claims she fell, but I saw him push her." "Turn that off." Dale stepped toward her, but Evan moved between them. "Sir, I think you should step back," Evan said calmly, his recorder still running. "Miss Keating, do you need medical attention? My CRLC training kicked in document everything, preserve evidence, maintain chain of custody." "Yes," I said clearly, "for all the recordings. My face is injured from when Mr. Rutledge pushed me into the doorframe." I touched my cheek gingerly. It was already swelling. "She's confused." Dale tried again, but his usual authority was cracking. "Tell them, Marianne, tell them she fell." Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Around us, the phones kept recording, their little eyes capturing her silence, her failure to corroborate his lie immediately. "I have the whole thing," the man with the steady hand announced. The push, the impact, everything, already uploaded to the cloud. The metal lay on the floor between us, its ribbon now stained with a drop of my blood. Dale's transformation was instant, theatrical. His shoulders dropped, his face softened, and he reached toward me with what anyone who didn't know him might mistake for genuine concern. "Lauren, sweetheart, let me help you up. These old buildings, the floors are so warped. Everyone saw you trip, right?" He looked around at the growing crowd, that salesman's smile I'd watched fool contractors and customers for years, but the phones didn't lower. If anything, more appeared, drawn by the commotion. "She didn't trip," the woman in green said firmly, still streaming. "I saw you shove her. My viewer saw it too." She turned her phone slightly to show the comment feed scrolling rapidly up her screen. Mom finally found her voice, pitched high with forced lightness. "Everyone's overreacting. Lauren's always been clumsy. Remember last Christmas? Honey, you walked right into that glass door." That glass door I'd walked into because Dale had grabbed my wrist and yanked me backward during an argument, sending me stumbling forward when he let go. But I'd learned to stay quiet then. Not now. My phone was in my jacket pocket. I pulled it out, ignoring Mom's sharp intake of breath, and opened the incident report app CRLC required us to keep installed. My fingers moved with practiced efficiency despite the throbbing in my face. Time 8:47 p.m. Location Rivermont Civic Hall, backstage corridor, incident type physical assault. "What are you doing?" Dale's voice dropped low. Dangerous, the tone that used to make me freeze as a teenager. "Following protocol," I replied, taking photos of my swelling cheek, the blood on my collar, the metal on the floor. Each image uploaded automatically to CRLC's secure server, time-stamped and geotagged. "Documenting an assault? You're making a mistake," Mom said, her hand clutching Dale's arm. "This is family business." "Battery isn't family business." A clear voice cut through. Avery Holt stepped through the crowd, her navy suit immaculate despite the late hour. Naya must have called her they'd met at a charity event months ago. "It's criminal business." Avery was the kind of lawyer who made opposing counsel sweat before she even spoke. She surveyed the scene with sharp eyes, taking in the phones, the blood, Dale's defensive posture. "Miss Keating, don't wash that blood off or change clothes until we photograph everything properly," she instructed. "Has anyone called for medical attention?" "I don't need," I started, but she cut me off. "You need documentation of injuries for the record, X-rays to rule out facial fractures, professional photographs of bruising as it develops." She turned to the crowd. "Anyone who filmed this, please save your videos. Don't delete anything, even if you think it's not useful." Evan stepped forward. "I have audio from the moment I heard the commotion. The whole thing's on my live stream," the woman in green added. "Already saved to my archive." Dale's face cycled through emotions, rage, calculation, fear. "This is ridiculous. I barely touched her. She's exaggerating like always." "Barely touched." Avery pulled out her phone. "Sir, I'd advise you to stop talking. Everything you say is being recorded by multiple parties." "Recording without consent is illegal." Dale tried. "Not in public spaces during the commission of a crime," Avery replied smoothly. "And there's no expectation of privacy in a civic building's corridor." My phone buzzed. Nia had sent me a link to the Rivermont Community Facebook page. The live stream had been shared there, and comments were pouring in. Some defended Dale, accidents happen, but others were different. "I've seen him grab her at the grocery store." "He screamed at her after her promotion ceremony last year." Classic abuser behavior, gaslighting in real time. The weight of it hit me then. This wasn't just my secret anymore. The careful facade our family maintained. Mom's desperate management of Dale's temper. His calculated strikes when no one was watching it was all crumbling under the unblinking eyes of a dozen phone cameras. "We're leaving," Dale announced, grabbing Mom's elbow. "Marianne, we're going home." "Mr. Rutledge," Avery said calmly, "I'd recommend you don't contact Miss Keating again. We'll be filing for an emergency protective order first thing tomorrow morning. She lives in my house. Actually, I said, finding my voice. I moved to base housing 6 months ago. Mom just didn't want anyone to know because it would raise questions. Mom's face crumpled. Another family secret exposed. Another carefully maintained lie dissolved under scrutiny. 3 days later, Mom invited me to dinner at their house. "We need to talk as a family," she'd said on the phone. Her voice strained. "Please, Lauren, just hear us out." I shouldn't have gone, but some part of me, the daughter who still remembered Mom teaching me to ride a bike, before Dale hoped she'd finally chosen my side. The dining room smelled like pot roast, my childhood comfort food. Mom had set the table with the good china, as if proper place settings could smooth over assault charges. Dale sat at the head of the table, wearing his Veterans Association polo shirt, his go-to costume when he wanted to appear respectable. "Your face looks better," Mom offered weakly, gesturing at my cheek where purple-green bruises painted a map of impact. "The swelling's down," I said flatly, taking the seat farthest from Dale. We ate in silence for 5 minutes before Mom cleared her throat. "Lauren, honey, you need to apologize to Dale." My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me." "For the embarrassment," she continued, not meeting my eyes. "The whole town's talking. Martha from church won't even speak to me. The Facebook posts, the comments, do you know what people are saying? That he assaulted me. That our family is trashy." Mom's voice cracked. "That we're drama seekers. Dale's lost 2 repair contracts already because clients saw that video." Dale hadn't spoken yet, just watched me with those calculating eyes. His phone sat face up beside his plate, and I could see the notification badges, dozens of unread messages. "So I should apologize for being attacked, for making it public," Mom insisted. "Families handle things privately. You didn't have to file that report. You didn't have to let that lawyer get involved." My phone buzzed on the table. A text from Dale, despite us sitting feet apart. "This house has rules. Respect them or stay away." I held up my phone. "He's threatening me. Right now, at your dinner table." "He's establishing boundaries," Mom said, but her voice wavered. "Boundaries." I pulled up my message archive, scrolling through the texts Dale had sent since the assault. "Your daughter needs to learn her place. Metal won't protect you from consequences. Drop the charges or things get worse. You're taking those out of context." Dale finally spoke, his tone eerily calm. What context makes threats acceptable? The memories came flooding back, a slideshow I couldn't stop. 16 years old, crying over a calculus test where I'd gotten a 94 instead of 100. Dale's hand around my collar, lifting until my feet barely touched the ground. Failures don't live under my roof. Mom in the doorway, watching, saying nothing. 21. Home from CRLC training for Thanksgiving, excited about my logistics certification. Dale listening to me explain supply chain optimization over dinner, then laughing. Women in the military just count tampons and toilet paper. Real operations require male brains. Mom quickly changing the subject to pie flavors. 25. My first commendation for improving distribution efficiency by 30% during flood relief. Dale reading the certificate I'd proudly shown Mom, then using it as a coaster for his beer. Participation trophy, he'd said, leaving a wet ring on the seal. "Remember when I got into CRLC?" I asked Mom. "Dale said women could only handle counting boxes, not real leadership." You laughed. You laughed like it was a joke. He was teasing. "When I graduated top of my logistics class, he said it was because the instructors wanted to fill diversity quotas." You nodded along. "Lauren, please, every achievement, every promotion, every recognition, he diminished them all. And you let him. You helped him." Dale's jaw tightened. "This family operated fine before you started thinking you were special." "I am special," I said, standing. "I coordinate emergency responses that save lives. I've earned commendations. I've proven my worth in measurable ways. What threatens you isn't my achievements. It's that they prove your worldview wrong." His face flushed red. "You ungrateful careful," I warned, holding up my phone. "Everything's being recorded, auto-uploaded to my lawyer's cloud storage." Mom stood too, tears streaming. "Lauren, please. The neighbors, the church. Everyone's watching our family fall apart." "Our family fell apart when you chose his comfort over my safety," I replied. "I'm done protecting your reputation at the cost of my truth." I headed for the door, but Dale's parting words followed me. "That video's being contested. My lawyer says edited recordings aren't admissible. This isn't over." Outside, I checked my phone. Dale had already posted on Facebook, claiming the videos were edited, that he was the real victim of a vindictive stepdaughter trying to ruin his business. Some people believed him. The battle lines in Rivermont were being drawn. But I also had 17 new messages from women in town, sharing their own stories about Dale inappropriate comments at the hardware store, aggressive behavior at community meetings, the way he'd accidentally bumped into young female customers. The thread of his behavior was finally being pulled. Avery's office occupied the third floor of a renovated brick building downtown. All clean lines and glass walls that made everything feel transparent, appropriate for what we were building. She'd arranged evidence across her conference table like a general planning a campaign, printed screenshots, USB drives, medical reports, witness statements. 5 separate videos from 5 different angles, she said. Laptop open to a split screen showing synchronized footage. Evan's audio with broadcast quality clarity. The live stream that captured everything in real time. Your medical records showing soft tissue damage consistent with blunt force trauma. And now, these... She gestured to a stack of printed emails and messages from women around Rivermont. 17 people have come forward with stories about Dale's aggressive behavior. 3 are willing to testify. "He's claiming the videos are edited," I said, studying the bruise progression photos the ER doctor had taken day 1 through day 5, purple blooming to green-yellow like toxic flowers. "Let him try." Avery smiled, sharp as a blade. "Digital forensics will verify the metadata. Timestamp analysis will prove continuity. The live stream particularly, you can't fake real-time audience reactions." She pulled up another document on her laptop. "Emergency protective order. Approved this morning. Dale cannot come within 500 feet of you, your workplace, or your residence. Next, we file criminal charges for assault and battery. Then the civil suit medical expenses, pain and suffering, punitive damages." "Mom sent this." I showed her my phone. A long email about family loyalty, about forgiveness, about how I was destroying a good man's reputation. At the bottom, a threat wrapped in concern. "If you proceed with this vindictive campaign, I'll have no choice but to testify about your history of exaggeration and attention-seeking behavior." Avery read it twice. "Forward that to me. It's witness intimidation. Technically, your mother's trying to suppress evidence. She's scared of him. She's complicit with him. There's a difference." Avery's voice softened slightly. "I know it hurts, but legally, she's chosen her side." Nia arrived then, bringing coffee and her own evidence folder. "The Facebook situation is escalating," she said, pulling out her tablet. "Dale's supporters started a group called Support Dale Rutledge Against False Accusations. But look at this." She showed us a countergroup, Rivermont Stands with Lauren. It had twice the members and included detailed timelines of Dale's behavior, corroborated by multiple witnesses over the years. "There's more," Nia continued. "Someone leaked Dale's business records. He's been sued twice before, once for throwing a wrench at an employee, once for damaging a customer's car during a dispute. Both cases settled out of court with NDAs. Who leaked them? Anonymous source sent them to Evan at the Gazette. He's verifying authenticity before publishing." Avery made notes rapidly. "Pattern of violence. This strengthens our case significantly." She turned to me. "We need to discuss strategy. Dale's lawyer is Marcus Webb old school, plays dirty. He'll try to attack your character, claim mental instability, anything to discredit you. I've been in the military for 6 years. I have psychological evaluations, performance reviews, commendations, all of which we'll use. Avery pulled out another folder. I've subpoenaed the Civic Hall security footage. They have cameras in the corridor that should have captured everything. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. But I recognized the voice immediately when I played the voicemail. Little girl playing soldier doesn't know what real consequences look like. Wait until the court sees what I have on you. Dale, violating the protective order already. Save that, Avery commanded. Forward it to me and report it to the police immediately. Every violation strengthens our position. Over the next 3 hours, we built our case methodically. Evan provided his full audio file, 23 minutes of clear recording from the moment he'd heard the commotion. The quality was pristine. You could hear the impact of my body against the doorframe, the metal case hitting the floor. Dale's heavy breathing as he stood over me. There's something else, I said, pulling out my personal laptop. I've been documenting things for years. Photos of bruises from when I was a teenager. Diary entries. Recorded arguments when I learned to hide my phone and hit record. Avery's eyes widened as I showed her the archive. You've been building a case since you were 16. I was building evidence that I wasn't crazy, I corrected. Dale and Mom always said I was dramatic, oversensitive, making things up. I needed proof that it was real. The final piece came from an unexpected source. The woman in the green dress who'd live-streamed the assault, Jennifer Walsh. Local realtor arrived with her laptop. I have the unedited live stream, she said. But more importantly, I have Dale on camera from before the assault. He was in the lobby, drinking and telling anyone who'd listen that you didn't deserve that medal, that women in the military were just diversity hires. I was filming the venue for a virtual tour tomorrow and caught it all. He was building up to violence for an hour. Avery looked at the evidence spread before us, digital, physical, testimonial, forensic. Lauren, this is one of the strongest cases I've ever assembled. He's going down. What about Mom's threat to testify against me? Let her try. Avery's smile turned predatory. I have 17 years of her text messages asking you to hide Dale's behavior, to keep family secrets, to not upset him. She's documented her own complicity. The Rivermont Town Council meeting drew 3 times its usual crowd. Every seat filled, people standing along the walls, local news cameras in the back. Dale had demanded this public forum to clear his name, confident his mechanic's charm and veteran status would sway opinion. He didn't know Avery had orchestrated something else entirely. Dale sat at the respondent's table in his best suit, the one he wore to weddings and funerals. His lawyer, Marcus Webb, shuffled papers importantly. Mom sat in the front row behind them, wearing her church dress, playing the supportive wife to perfection. This is a simple misunderstanding that's been blown out of proportion by social media, Webb began, his voice carrying the authority of 30 years practicing law in small towns. Mr. Rutledge is a respected businessman, a veteran, a pillar of this community. One edited video shouldn't destroy a man's reputation. Mayor Patricia Henley, presiding over the hearing, looked skeptical. We're here to review evidence. Mr. Webb, not make speeches. Avery stood. Your Honor, we've prepared a synchronized presentation of the incident from multiple sources. May we use the projection system? At Henley's nod, the large screen behind the council descended. Avery connected her laptop, and suddenly the Civic Hall corridor appeared in 5 panels, each video feed time-synced to the millisecond. Notice the timestamp, Avery narrated as the footage began. 8:47 and 12 seconds. Mr. Rutledge enters the corridor. Miss Keating is 10 feet ahead, walking away. The center screen showed Jennifer's wide angle. Top left was the teenage girl's vertical video. Top right, the steady hand of the older man. Bottom left, Naya's footage. Bottom right, a new angle security camera footage from the Civic Hall that Avery had successfully subpoenaed. 8:47 and 18 seconds. Mr. Rutledge accelerates his pace. Miss Keating hasn't turned around. Dale's face on screen was twisted with rage, nothing like the composed man sitting in the chamber. 8:47 and 21 seconds. Mr. Rutledge makes contact. 5 angles showed the same moment: Dale's hands shooting forward, my body flying backward, my face connecting with the doorframe. The sound echoed through the council chamber from Evan's audio feed, synced perfectly. The crack of impact, my gasp of pain, the metal case clattering. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "Now," Avery continued. "Mr. Rutledge claims Miss Keating tripped. Let's examine that." She zoomed the security footage, enhanced and slowed to quarter speed. Dale's hands clearly extended, making contact with my shoulders, the force of his push visible in the way my feet left the ground momentarily. "That's not tripping," someone called from the audience. "Order," Mayor Henley said, but she was leaning forward, studying the screen intently. Avery played the live stream audio next. Dale's voice, crystal clear: "Stop showing off." Then, after the assault, she tripped. "These heels she's wearing." The medical report. Avery switched slides. "Shows injuries consistent with being pushed into a solid object, not with falling. The bruise pattern on Miss Keating's shoulders matches the span of adult male hands." Webb stood. "This is prejudicial. This is evidence." Avery cut him off. She clicked again. "Mr. Rutledge's Facebook posts following the incident." The screen filled with Dale's rants calling me a liar, attention seeker, ungrateful brat. Then the deleted posts, recovered from cached data, where he'd threatened anyone who shared the video with lawsuits. "I'd like to call Lieutenant Colonel James Morrison from CRLC." My commanding officer walked to the podium in full-dress uniform. His testimony was brief but devastating my exemplary service record. Commendations for excellence, psychological evaluations showing stability and resilience. "Miss Keating is one of our finest logistics coordinators," he stated. "Her work during the Copper Creek fires saved lives and millions in resources. The Medal of Civil Readiness was earned through exceptional service, not showing off." Dale's composure cracked. He whispered urgently to Webb, gesturing at the screen. "Now," Avery said, "regarding Mr. Rutledge's character." She called 3 women from the community. Each testified about Dale's aggressive behavior cornering them at the hardware store, inappropriate comments about their bodies, intimidation when they rejected his advances. The crowd's energy shifted. This wasn't about one incident anymore. Mom suddenly stood. "This is a witch hunt. You don't know him like I do. Lauren's always been jealous of our happiness." "Mrs. Rutledge," Mayor Henley interrupted. "You'll have your chance to speak if called." But the damage was done. Mom's outburst, her desperate defense of Dale while her daughter's assault played on screen behind her, spoke volumes. "In conclusion," Avery said, "we have incontrovertible evidence of assault, documented pattern of aggressive behavior, and attempts to obstruct justice through intimidation and false statements. We request the council forward all evidence to the district attorney for immediate criminal prosecution." The council huddled briefly. Then Mayor Henley spoke. "The evidence presented is overwhelming and disturbing. This matter will be referred to the High Mesa County District Attorney's Office with our full recommendation for prosecution. Mr. Rutledge, you should prepare for criminal proceedings." Dale erupted. "This is bullshit. She set me up. That medal was a participation trophy and everyone knows it." His mask finally slipped completely, revealing the man I'd always known angry, bitter, unable to accept that a woman he'd tried to diminish had accomplished more than he ever would. "Furthermore," Henley continued, "this recording will be entered into public record. The people of Rivermont deserve to know the character of those among us." As people filed out, many approached me with support, but I watched Mom helping Dale leave, her hand on his arm, still choosing him even after seeing the truth projected 20 feet tall. The preliminary hearing was set for 2 weeks. The real fight was just beginning. The courtroom smelled of old wood and fresh paper, that particular mixture of history and bureaucracy that made my stomach tight. Dale sat at the defendant's table in a too-wide navy suit, his lawyer Webb attempting to project confidence despite the mountain of evidence Avery had filed. The gallery was packed, half supporting me, Half still clinging to Dale's carefully crafted reputation, Judge Catherine Brennan presided, a woman known for seeing through bullshit and having no patience for grandstanding, perfect for what Avery had planned. Your Honor, Webb began after opening statements. The defense maintains this was an unfortunate accident, exacerbated by alcohol and misunderstanding. Mr. Rutledge may have stumbled, causing incidental contact. Stumbled. Avery stood. Your Honor, we have evidence to present that will clearly show deliberate assault. Proceed. The first video played on the courtroom's large monitor. The wide-angle shot from Jennifer's phone, showing Dale's approach, his acceleration, the violent shove, no stumbling, no accident. Exhibit 2, Avery continued. The second angle, from above, captured by the Civic Hall's security camera. Note Mr. Rutledge's stance, feet planted, shoulders squared. This is the body position of someone delivering intentional force. Webb tried to object. The angle distorts. Then let's look at another angle. The teenage girl's vertical video filled the screen. Same moment. Different perspective. Dale's face contorted with rage, arms extending purposefully. Exhibit 4. The audio from Evan's recorder played through the courtroom speakers. The crack of impact echoed off the walls. Several jury members flinched. Now, Avery said. The defense claims alcohol was involved. Let's examine that. She pulled up the live stream footage from earlier in the evening. Here's Mr. Rutledge in the lobby, 1 hour before the assault. Dale on screen was holding a beer, gesturing animatedly to a group of men. The audio was clear. That medal's a joke. They give them out like candy to women now, trying to fill quotas. My stepdaughter thinks she's special because she can count boxes. Stop showing off, I told her. Stop pretending you've earned something real. The jury leaned forward. This wasn't a stumbling drunk, this was premeditation. The defense's strategy appears to be painting this as an accident, Avery continued. So let's discuss Mr. Rutledge's accidents. She presented the leaked business records. 2 prior assault charges, both settled quietly. Testimony from the 3 women about his aggressive behavior. The pattern emerged like a photograph developing in solution clear, undeniable. Webb called Dale to testify, a desperate move. Dale took the stand, trying to project wounded dignity. I've been a mechanic in this town for 20 years, he began. I've served my community, fixed cars for single mothers at cost, donated to Mr. Rutledge. The prosecutor interrupted. Did you push Miss Keating? She tripped. That's not what I asked. Did you make physical contact with Miss Keating? Dale's jaw worked. There may have been incidental contact. Incidental? The prosecutor played the video again, frame by frame. Your hands are extended. They make contact with her shoulders. You follow through with the push. What's incidental about that? I was trying to steady her. By pushing her into a door frame. Avery stood for cross-examination. Mr. Rutledge, you sent Miss Keating several text messages after the incident. I'd like to read them for the record. She pulled out printed screenshots. This house has rules. Drop the charges or things get worse. Your medal won't protect you from consequences. Do these sound like the words of someone who accidentally bumped into someone? Those are out of context. What context makes threats acceptable? Avery's voice was surgical. And this voicemail left while a protective order was in place. Little girl playing soldier doesn't know what real consequences look like. Your voice, Mr. Rutledge. Dale's lawyer objected, but Judge Brennan allowed it. The voicemail played, Dale's menacing tone filling the courtroom. Then came the moment Avery had been building toward. Your Honor, we have one final piece of evidence, provided by an anonymous source yesterday. She connected a USB drive to the court's system, deleted social media posts, recovered from Mr. Rutledge's account. The screen filled with years of posts about me, every achievement mocked, every accomplishment diminished, every success twisted into an attack on his masculinity. But the worst was a private message thread with his friend, dated the morning of the ceremony. Tonight I put that uppity bitch in her place. Medal ceremony or not, she needs to learn respect. Premeditation. Clear as day. Webb made one last desperate play, calling Mom to testify. She took the stand in her best dress, hands trembling. "Lauren has always been dramatic," she began, not meeting my eyes. "She exaggerates things for attention." "Mrs. Rutledge," Avery interrupted. "Did you witness the assault?" I wasn't in the corridor." "So you didn't see what happened?" "No." "But then your opinion about your daughter's character is irrelevant to the facts of this case." Avery pulled out her phone. "However, these text messages you sent Lauren over the years are relevant. Please don't upset Dale. Keep this in the family. You know how he gets when angry." "Were you aware of Mr. Rutledge's violent tendencies?" Mom's face crumbled. I just wanted peace." "At the cost of your daughter's safety." The silence stretched until Judge Brennan dismissed her. Closing arguments were brief. Webb talked about redemption, mistakes, alcohol. Avery simply pointed at the screen, where 5 synchronized videos showed the truth. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she concluded, 5 cameras don't lie, audio doesn't lie, medical records don't lie. The only lies told here were Mr. Rutledge's claims of innocence." The jury deliberated for 93 minutes. "Guilty. Assault in the 3rd degree with aggravating factors." The gavel came down like thunder. Judge Brennan's voice cut through the murmur of the gallery. "The defendant is found guilty of assault in the 3rd degree with aggravating circumstances." Dale's face drained of color. His hands gripped the defense table until his knuckles went white. Webb whispered urgently in his ear, but Dale wasn't listening. He was staring at me with a mixture of rage and disbelief, as if even now he couldn't accept that his actions had consequences. "Sentencing," Judge Brennan continued, her voice steady and final. 90 days in county jail, suspended to 30 days with 2 years probation, anger management counseling mandatory, permanent restraining order. Mr. Rutledge is prohibited from coming within 1,000 feet of Miss Keating for the rest of his life. The civil damages came next. Medical expenses, every x-ray, every follow-up, every prescription for pain, lost wages from recovery time. But the real number that made Dale gasp was the punitive damages, $50,000. "Your business assets can be liquidated if necessary," Avery had explained earlier. His shop, his tools, his reputation all subject to collection. Mom sat frozen in the gallery, her carefully constructed world in ruins. The marriage she'd protected at my expense, the reputation she'd valued over my safety worthless now. Dale would serve his time, pay his damages, and carry the mark of conviction forever. The good mechanic, the veteran, the respected businessman, all those masks had been stripped away in court, leaving only the violent man who'd terrorized a young woman for daring to succeed. As court officers moved to escort Dale for processing, he turned to Mom. "Get the house refinanced. We're appealing." "Mr. Rutledge," Judge Brennan's voice was ice. "Any attempt to hide assets or intimidate witnesses will result in immediate imprisonment. You've been warned." Outside the courthouse, the autumn air felt clean and sharp. Reporters waited with questions, but I wasn't interested in giving Dale any more of my time. Naya stood beside me, solid and present. Evan nodded from near his news van. He'd covered the trial fairly, letting the evidence speak. "How does it feel?" someone shouted. I looked at the Medal of Civil Readiness in my hand. I'd brought it to court as a reminder of what this was really about. Not just the assault, but years of diminishment, of being told my achievements were worthless, of having my light dimmed to make a small man feel bigger. "It feels like justice," I said simply. The videos had done what years of silence couldn't expose to the truth in a way that couldn't be denied or explained away. 5 cameras, multiple angles, dozens of witnesses. In the age of smartphones and live streams, abusers could no longer count on shadows to hide their violence. 3 weeks later, I heard Dale's shop had closed. He couldn't work from jail, and when word spread about the conviction, Customers took their business elsewhere. Mom filed for divorce while he was inside, finally choosing herself when the cost of standing by him became too high. She sent me a letter, not an apology exactly, but an acknowledgement. "I see it now," she wrote. "I'm sorry I didn't see it then." I kept the letter but didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, don't need rebuilding. My medal sits on my desk at CRLC headquarters, where I now train new logistics coordinators. I tell them about supply chains and emergency protocols, but I also tell them about documentation, about evidence, about standing firm when someone tries to diminish their worth. The young women especially listen with recognition in their eyes. They know what it's like to be told they're showing off when they're simply showing up. The videos from that night still circulate occasionally, usually when someone shares them as an example of how bystander intervention can work, how recording injustice can lead to justice. Jennifer, the woman in green who live-streamed everything, became an advocate for domestic violence survivors. She understood what her camera had done, turned witnessing into action, transformed watching into protecting. Dale served his 30 days. Last I heard, he'd moved 2 counties over, working at a chain auto shop for minimum wage. The anger management counseling was mandatory, but changing a mindset built over 52 years, that was optional, and I doubt he chose it. Standing in the courtroom that final day, watching him led away in handcuffs, I felt the weight of years lifting. Every stop showing off, every women don't understand real leadership, every attempt to make me smaller, they all lost their power in that moment. The medal gleamed in my palm, earned through service, validated through trial, and finally, truly mine. No one could diminish it anymore. The cameras had captured the truth, the court had confirmed it, and I stood there, no longer the silent daughter, but a woman who'd fought back and won. The screens had gone dark in the courtroom, the evidence presented and judgment rendered. But somewhere, those videos lived on proof that in the right light, with enough eyes watching, even the smallest acts of violence could become undeniable crimes. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're hearing this from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. Please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts on what justice means to you. Your support helps these important stories reach others who might need to hear them.